أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار وهو اللطيف الخبير قد جاءكم بصائر من ربكم فمن أبصر فلنفسه ومن نمي فعليها وما أنا لكم بحفيظ صدق الله العظيم. These verses translate as follows: Vision cannot comprehend him, and he comprehends all vision. And he is the knower of subtle things, and he is the one who is aware. Clear proofs have indeed come to you from your Lord, so whoever sees, it is for the good of his own soul, and whoever is blind, it is to its harm. And I, that is today the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and I am not a keeper over you. Chapter 6, verses 103 and 104. And the topic of today's khutbah is seeing and inner sight. This passage begins by disclosing the fact that the human eye does not have the capacity or the ability to see God in the same way as we can see material objects. Vision cannot comprehend him, and he comprehends all vision. So not only is it that the human eye cannot see God like a material object, but no other detecting instruments can physically detect Allah, whether it's a microscope or a telescope or some other instrument which extends the range of the human eye. Even human imagination cannot visualize Allah, because human imagination is based on what a human being sees in this world. It's built up on that. And human imagination is also limited by a person's experiences of life in this world. So even human imagination cannot visualize God. On the other hand, as it says here, God knows all the types of vision that exist in the universe and within the human mind. So God encompasses or comprehends all of those, while none of those can comprehend or encompass or see God. The word for vision here is based on the word basir, and basir means having the power of seeing. Now the same word which is used in the first verse, vision cannot comprehend him and he comprehends all vision, the word based on basir, the same word is used in the next verse which I had already read out, that clear proofs have indeed come to you. The word for clear proofs here is basair, qad jaakum basairu min rabbikum. And when it goes on to say clear proofs have come to you from your Lord, then whoever sees, it is for the good of his own soul. The sees there is again a word based on basir, faman absara. So while God cannot be seen or encompassed by the power of human vision, whether by sight or by imagination, yet God has sent arguments for our guidance which can be seen. You see, he says, Basair have come to you from your Lord. So matters which can be seen, guidance which can be seen, has been sent by God. And those who see that guidance, as it says here, benefit. They benefit themselves. And it also adds that those who remain blind, and the word used is blind, waman amaya, those who remain blind to that guidance, they only do harm to themselves. And the Prophet ﷺ, or the preacher, is not any kind of a guardian over them or in charge of them. These matters are up to those people. Some choose to remain blind and refrain from applying the faculties that enable them to see the guidance. Now, to be able to see guidance, the sight which is required, the kind of sight, is mentioned in the Holy Quran as follows: فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ, which means, surely it is not the eyes that are blind, but blind are the hearts which are in the breasts, in the human breast. Chapter 22, verse 46. And it is with that kind of sight, the sight of the heart, that a person can find true guidance. Now, many people have said in the past, and even today there are people who say that if we can see God, if we could see God with our eyes, we would believe in Him. Then we would know that God exists. And the reply that the Holy Quran has given is, well, you've seen the first part of the reply, that a human vision can't reach Him. But the second part of the reply is, you can't see God, but what you can see is God's guidance. But you need to develop the sight of the heart to see it. As this verse I've already read says, but blind are the hearts which are in the breasts. So they need to develop and exercise their sight. Now, the Holy Quran also distinguishes between looking at something and seeing something. It says in a verse, وَإِن تُدُوهُمْ إِلَى الْهُدَى لَا يَسْمَعُوا, and if you invite them to guidance, they do not hear. وَتَرَاهُمْ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَيْكَ, and you, addressing the Holy Prophet, you see them looking towards you. يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَيْكَ, you see them looking towards you. وَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ, but still they do not see you. You see them looking at you, يَنْظُرُونَ, but they still do not see you, لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. This is chapter 7, verse 198. Here again, the word for seeing is based on basar, that they do not see you. And the word for looking, it says they look at you, but they do not see you. That word for looking is based on the word, the common word we all know, nazar, sight of the eye. And similarly, in another verse in the Holy Quran, in fact, 2 verses, the Holy Prophet is addressed as follows: there are some people who listen to you, but can you make the deaf to hear when they will not understand? And some of them, and there are some people who look at you, but can you show the way to the blind when they will not see? So that means they are looking at you, but in fact they are not looking with the heart, so they are blind. And how can you show them the way when they're not seeing? They're not seeing in that sense. And there's another well-known verse in the Holy Quran, which I'll just read in the English translation, regarding certain people. It says, they have hearts with which they do not understand. They have eyes with which they do not see. And they have ears with which they do not hear. Chapter 7, verse 179. Of course, the people mentioned here, they did see with their eyes, and they did hear with their ears, whatever they wanted to. They saw and heard whatever they wanted to. Now, literally, the Holy Prophet's opponents, as his rejectors, literally, they did see the Holy Prophet in front of them. Literally, they did hear his preaching. Their ears caught his preaching. But they did not let these enter into their hearts. That was not the real seeing and hearing. And this applies not only to the rejectors of the divine message, but also to those who accept it. When you hear or see something, you also have to go into the deeper meaning of those words and the deeper meaning of what you saw. If you learn religion by watching someone and by listening to that person, and then you simply copy that person, you are not taking anything into your heart or mind. Your heart hasn't understood, and your mind's eyes haven't seen, and your mind's ears haven't heard. You are simply copying someone, seeing what they did, and whatever they say, you absorb. You hear only the words, but your heart hasn't and mind haven't understood them. Now, regarding the life after death, it is said in the Quran, Yawma taral mu'minina wal mu'minate yasa nuruhum baina aydihim wa bi imanihim. On that day, this, as I said, is about life after death. In the next life, on that day, you will see believers, men and women, their light gleaming before them and on their right hand. This is chapter 57, verse 12. So, the light of faith which these believing men and women had in this life, by means of which they also called others to the same path, that light will be seen running in front of them and on their right hand side in the next life. Now, we hear a great deal about what awaits Muslims in paradise. For example, the so-called hurs in paradise, apparently meant for men. But how often have you heard about this light that will be granted to those who followed the light of truth in this life? You hardly ever hear of that, but you hear about other things presented in a distorted way. And here it says that this light in the next life will be granted to both men and women. Now, in one place in the Holy Quran says this, and whoever is blind in this world, he will be blind in the hereafter and will be further away from the right path. Chapter 17, verse 72. Obviously, when it says whoever is blind in this world, it does not mean the physically blind, any physically blind people of the world who have some problem with their eyes and can't see. It does not mean that. It means those who in this life made no effort to see the guidance and truth while they were alive. So their spiritual eyes remained closed during their life on earth, and after death, when the body is gone and only the soul remains, then that soul has no sight to use in the next life. Of course, the next life is purely spiritual, and it is in the next life that the Holy Quran teaches us, Islam teaches us that we have the sight of Allah, but only if in this life we developed our inner sight, our basirat. Now, these people who are mentioned as being whoever is blind in this life will be blind in the hereafter. That's not, we read it and think that applies to other people, to non-Muslims, to rejectors of Islam. But this could be us as well. So may Allah protect us from being among people of such blindness. And may He bless us with the light of truth in this world, and may we see it shining radiantly in the life hereafter. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم